Jackham.
I'm in a fight with infutility. How about that? Industry infutility. Is it futility a word,
No,
James?
just futility.
Huh?
Futility.
Just futility.
Yeah.
Throughout the end. Industry futility. So let's jump into this, okay? Powell raised rates 75 basis points. We knew that. We've been talking about that. We told you
wildly expected. No surprise.
Wildly expected. So if we could ever get Powell and the president on the same page, then maybe we could start making some headway. The good news is they're starting to use the word recession, right? We got to say it first, right? I got to admit I'm an alcoholic before I can get better. I got to admit I love Little Debbie snack cakes, and they're not good for my waistline before I can stop eating them. So that's where we're at. So the problem is this. What Powell should have went on and said, because normally when the Fed speaks, we see a little bit of a bump in interest. We see a little bit of relief in interest rates. This week we didn't. And I'm going to tell you why. Because Powell spoke, and he should have just got on air, said, hey, we're raising rates 75 basis points. They should have did with him like the president. Shuffled him off the stage. But these guys want airtime, man. You know, these guys want to be celebrities, bro. They don't want to just get up there. So he spoke for what seemed like an hour and a half.
Well, look, this is no small thing you just said, because Alan Greenspan never had press conferences where he had to explain himself and take questions from reporters whenever he
was surprised. There was elements, right? I mean, it was, here's the facts on what's going on with the economy. Here's what we need to do. Period.
And it didn't start until Ben Bernanke, and that's what, 2008? So we could operate just fine with this guy not doing press conferences and running his mouth. You're right. This is a vanity play. This is a political vanity play.
So they ask him questions, which are obviously, hey, did you know, and they are, what's next? What's the next move for the Fed? Where do you see us going? And everything is, I don't know. I'm not sure. And you tortured yourself with it, Parker, because this is what we do, right? And how horrible was it, James? I mean, it was just how, if he doesn't know, who should?
Well, he doesn't know, and the record of history is crystal clear that whatever the Fed does tends to be about 3 to 6 months behind of whenever they should have done it according to their own terms. Now, I don't agree with basically anything they do ever, and they have to spend a lot of time. They have to spend like 17 minutes with a bunch of big words and explanations and circular logic to try and cover the fact that they really don't know. They don't know. They're reacting. They're not controlling anything. And you're so right about the reporters being a joke. They have to be plants, because at all of these press conferences, not one reporter goes, how on earth do you expect to hold down inflation when we have a $1.5 trillion deficit? They're literally or figuratively printing $1.5 trillion in new money and just adding it to the monetary pool for the last couple years in a row. What do you really think ticking up the rate, not even a whole percentage point, is even going to sop up some of that spill?
No, or like I would go
for a joke.
Right. I would go, Jerome. So listen, you've admitted that you missed it by 2 years.
Right.
Have you called Joe and said, bro, I can't make money more valuable when you keep depreciating it with things called Inflation Care Act? Like the print and press finally started to have a little bit of dust on it. Just a little bit. And then boom, they cranked it back up. So in respect for him, for Jerome, my boy Jerry, give me a shout. You're welcome to Mortgage Gumbo. It's hard for him, right? Because he's sitting there at the end of the day, take the politics out of it, going, what the is he doing? You're like, I got to go in front of these people because, like you said, it's vanity. If he was just doing his job, you would see something saying, Powell calls out president and goes, how do you expect me to get our economy in line when you keep cheapening money? And that's the problem. But it goes even further than that, James, okay? Then you got the Atlanta Fed, right? Well, I can't let Jerome have all so his minions underneath him, they got to start getting in the press too, right? So here's this buffoon, the Atlanta Fed president, last month, GDP for Q3 will be 2.6%. James, what do they want GDP to be at? Right? What do they want it to be at? 2%, right? What you hear that and you go, woohoo! Things are great. Oh, wait. 3 weeks ago, he revised that down to 1.3%. Well, wait, how did we in a 3-week period, in a 1-month period, listen what he's done. He went from 2.6 to 1.3. Last week, 0.5 to now 0.3.
0.3.
0.3. So, because why? They don't want to say negative GDP because what does that mean? What's 2 quarters?
Recession. A scary word. And we have a midterm coming up in about a month and a week.
So we got to just keep pushing it back. But if this is one of the 8, that there's 12 of them, but there's 8 presidents, blah, blah, we can get into that whole thing. You know, it's not like, hey, if the president dies, then who? The vice president, speaker. Like, there's a whole thing with the Fed chairs. What are they doing? Just shut up. Shut up and give data. This is why we are data-driven here at Mortgage Gumbo. We're not worried about, look, I'm not worried about making headlines. They are so worried about trying to be that guy, but because they are so reactionary, they are so wanting to just get their name in lights, bro. And the fact is, every one of these human beings, if we did our job like them, would have been poop canned years ago. So that's my problem, right? And then guess what? Next week, the Q2 readings coming out. So we ain't going to have to wait for Q3. Next week, Q2 comes out. It's going to be negative. We're in a recession, folks. So what has to come out of this? I'm going to tell you what's next, and it stinks. Unemployment. It's going to go up. Right? It's going to. I'm sorry to say it. It's going to. And it stinks. Debt is going to continue to go up. So these are the things that we are just fighting right now. And that's why we're going to do budget planning. That's why we're going to do some of these events to try to help you out. But when we have a Fed market, a Fed who does not have any clue and is just trying to avoid because everything is now political, we're not political here at Mortgage Gumbo. The Fed does something that I think's a good thing, I let you know. If it's bad, I let you know. So my thing is here, we're in a recession or we're right there. And I think inflation numbers, based on what I'm looking at, I think we probably have one more month of poopy numbers. And then maybe things are get a little bit better. But I want you all to understand this because the Fed, and the only other thing I got out of Jerome Powell that I thought was, thank goodness he said it. You've got the media out there who thinks, all right, let's just hurry up to get to the 4.5% they're saying that the federal funds rate should be at. So then we can start bringing it down. Like, folks, this is not a roller coaster. Let's hurry up and get to the top so we can come back down. No. So that's why it's buckle your bootstraps. It's tighten things up. It's why I wasn't doing budget planning the last 2 years, but we're doing that now. Because that's what's important. Whether you're a homeowner or not, let's figure out how to work a budget.